Right, greetings, and today we are going to go over running Python files. So I'm gonna make something in my tip. An important reason I want to do this is that, right, um, we just want to when someone asks you to ask for end user arguments, you're going to be able to be able to run it from the terminal and see it from Python. So So first, we want to be able to say, we want to able, so the user arguments here that we have here, we want to be able to see them in our Python code. So first things first is that we want to disable this. This right here is not our friend. Never use this, right? It's very important. It's very important to keep the extension itself. But what I want to go ahead and do is, right, when we want to use command line, we have to find out what is Python, right? So Python, okay, Python by itself, Python as itself, this picture right here isn't Python. This isn't Python. What will actually tell you what the actual Python program is, the program that you use to run and execute Python scripts is right here in the interpreter. So if you're in VS Code, right, you should scroll down here. It should be set up. If not, then there's different ways that we can go into. That I'll just show you. For example, one way is right here. You scroll right here, and the context that pops up is Python 3. Right. So if you click on it, right, sometimes it says select entire workspace. That's okay. Right. See the version that we're using. This is the actual Python. So if yours says Python 3, you just type in Python 3, or if it's Python 33.8.1. If yours is Python 3, is Python by itself, then you use Python. And this is the version that we should be using. We shouldn't be using Python 2. We're using Python 3, especially 3.8. But if you have 3.7, 3.6, that's fine as well. 3.5 is equals, you know what, scroll all the versions. As long as there's 3 in the front, that's fine. So the really matters is the actual name, Python 3 or Python. So if you see Python 3, use Python 3. If you see Python, you use Python here where you see under the version. So this is the version, and this is the actual Python that we use, Python 3 that we use to execute Python 3 scripts. Okay, so that's it. All right, to run in the terminal, to run a command in the terminal, right? We type in Python 3, and then the name of the file in this case. It will be run py. Whoops, and then I didn't have anything for the index. That's okay. There, but get run.py, right? So that at a glance, that's how we run programs in Python. We look at the interpreter that we have here, entire workspace, or we want to get to this part of the dropdown in Python 3, right? This is the one that we're interested in. Okay. And now, now we know how to run the file. Now, say if we want to add user arguments. So user arguments, say if there's an end user who wants to use a program, write a Python program, and you don't want your values hard coded in the script. You don't know what the user's going to say. So say like you have a function store, and it takes in a list, right? And it says print by store. Right, it's great. Right, buy from store, and this is the items anyone wants to buy from the store. Right, so write a function here. different thing, right? So we go ahead. All right, so we go ahead, we have our function here, and now we want to see, we just want to go ahead and see what the user, say if the user wants to buy from the store and your user is Matt, right? So Matt might have the different items to buy from the store either than Corey, and then Corey might have different items to buy for the store other than Jay. So in order to see our arguments, what we want to do first is we want to go ahead and right have Python 38 here, right? The Python 3, right? The name, as you could see. So at one point it was Python 38, now it's Python 3, right? So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and type in the arguments. And then like Jane is the name of the user, right? But the user doesn't have to be there all the time. If you want to buy a backpack, potatoes, a door, a bed. Right, go ahead and run. Let's got the file itself. Where we go ahead and run it, we get all of our arguments. So now, so our user arguments. So now, basically, if you want to see all the values, right, we go ahead and print those values. So at index 0 is always going to be the name of the file. So Python, when it does sysargv, right, this argument, the first argument it sees towards Python 3, the program running the script, that's the name, right? So your script will go in index 0 and anything else will go after. So if you go ahead and run this again and we do some indexing, string indexing, right, you see sysargv index 1 is Jane, that's the name from 0 to 3, right? Or want to say 2 to the end, right? All the food that she wants. If she wants like a backpack, right? Sysargv2. Notice the difference when I use single list indexes, right? I get a string. But if I use list splicing, if I use that slice value, even though it's one item, I get a list. Key difference. Okay. So now, right, the importance of the sysargv is say that we want the end users to use our application. We can't, if you have no other way of hard coding it in here. So right, so say if Jane goes to the store and she has some items to buy, here we go. You run this. And that's the sysargv printing. Right, so if you go ahead and run this, right, Jane buys from store, backpack, potatoes, door, beds. Now say if I wanted to change it up, right, say if I wanted to say Matt, right, Matt wanted to buy from the store. My argument is space by space, as you can see. Right, and that buys from store, computer, phone, tablet. So these allow your users to pass arguments. So now if you wanted to connect to a server in the future, problems like Jack run code.ninja, let's say if that was the name of the person, Katana sword, right, we go ahead and see as so, right, our arguments. So these are how we get our arguments in there, right? And all our arguments, basically, and all our arguments would come in this slice notation, right? Sysargv. And when you do it like this, that means just head to the end. That's another way of saying print all the items from index 1 until the end of the list. And as you can see, these are all the arguments we pass for our script. So what I want you to do right now is that I want you to, right, I want you to figure out what the actual name of your Python 3 program is by using that using the misspoke there, but using the version, right? Using the version, find out what it is. I want you to make a script called run py, run it with no arguments, and then run it with several arguments, and then use sysargv. This sysargv, right? Sysargv is a list, and use that to print list indexes, list slices, and see how you can play with it, right? So I want you to do that exercise. I want you to make a file, right? A file .py, right? Find out exact name of your Python read program. Run with no args. 6 out this index and slices of sys.rb. And once we do this, we can move on to the next exercise.